Opportunity Knocks by nikkiRA. Chapter 6. They emerge on a hill near Camp Jupiter. Billy falls over as soon as they land, almost succeeding in impaling himself on Nico's sword. He looks around with wide eyes, and then he looks at Nico. "What did you do? You wouldn't believe me if I told you." "Tell me." "We travelled through the shadows." If he had expected that to shut the child up, he was sorely mistaken. Billy scrambles up and follows behind Nico, talking the entire time. "Wow, really? How'd you do that? What happens? Do we become shadows? Can you go anywhere? Can you teach me?" He waves the sword around at a passing wasp, and Nico takes it out of his hands. "That's real, not a toy." "I don't like wasps. I was stung once when I was little, and I cried for 2 straight hours. Alana always told me that I had to stand still and they wouldn't bother me, but it's hard to stand still when it's so close to you. Alana didn't like crawly bugs, and I didn't like flying bugs, so I would kill all the spiders and stuff, and she would always try and kill the wasps for me, even though it's hard to kill wasps because they fly and stuff." Nico is regretting this every single step. "Shouldn't you be a little more scared, kid? Big scary monster, shadow traveling? Don't you want to be quiet and think about all the things you witnessed? Please be quiet." "I've seen stuff like that my whole life. One time when I was younger, there was this really weird woman who tried to hurt me, and she had 2 different legs. One of them was a donkey leg, and she looked like this weird snake lady. But my father didn't believe me. Only Alana believed me. And then when I was 8, my father died, and there was no one else to take us. And Alana said we'd have to run away in order to stay together. And I saw..." He keeps prattling on. He's far too fucking cheery for a boy who has been living in the streets for 3 years after the death of his father, and who has now almost definitely been left by his sister. Not that Nico wants him to be depressed or anything, but a little bit of sadness to quiet him down wouldn't be too bad, he thinks. "Where are we going now? Are we going to meet your sister? What's her name? Are we really in California?" "Somewhere with other people like you. Yes." "Hazel?" "Yes." "What do you mean people like me?" Nico glances at him. "Like us. People who can see things other people can't." Billy is blissfully quiet for a moment before he says in a much quieter voice, "Do you think they'll know where Alana went?" Nico sighs heavily. "I don't know, kid. Maybe." "You are in trouble." This is how Reyna greets him. Arms crossed with her dogs at her feet, Hazel hugs him, but after she steps back, standing beside Reyna with her hands on her waist, Nico glances at Frank, who is the only one who doesn't look ready to kill him. "Jason called?" Frank nods. "Great. What did he say?" "Just that you've disappeared again." Silently, he thanks Jason for not spilling his secrets, although the look in Reyna's eyes tells him that he was probably able to convince them of the severity of his crime some other way. "Was it really necessary to bring the dogs out?" he asks her with a raised eyebrow. "You tell me." There is a tugging on his sleeve, and Billy steps out from where he had hidden behind him at the angry tone in Reyna's voice. Nico doesn't blame him. He kind of wishes he had someone to hide behind. Cyclopses didn't scare the kid, but an angry Reyna did. Maybe Billy was smarter than Nico had given him credit for. "Are those real dogs?" "No, they're made of gold and silver. They can tell when you're lying." Billy gapes at him. "Really? Try it out." Billy looks between the 2 of them. "The sky's green." They react to feelings. Reyna looks away from Nico to address Billy. "Lie about something you're feeling, or that you've done. They don't care about the colour of the sky. They care about human emotion." Billy swallows. "I killed that monster today." Both Argentum and Arum stand up and turn their heads towards Billy, who takes another step behind Nico. "They won't hurt you," Reyna says. "They'll only attack if I tell them to." She turns her gaze back to Nico, as if to say, "And I'm debating it." I'm not sure what Jason told you, but he must have over-exaggerated if you're this angry at me. Frank speaks up. Are you going to explain why you have a 9-year-old following you around? I'm turning 11 next month, Billy says indignantly. Frank apologizes. Good old Frank. Nico quickly latches onto this change of topic. Right. This is Billy. He was being attacked by a cyclops. He's an orphan. His father is dead, his sister is missing, and he never knew his mother. He looks meaningfully at Reyna, who turns her eyes back to him to study him. And he's a demigod? I assume so. He recognized the cyclops for what it was, saw my sword as a sword, and he says he's run into more monsters in his life. Why are you talking about me like I'm not here? Reyna sighs. Deal with him, she says, nodding at Nico, but eyes on Hazel. Billy, you come with me. You too, Frank. Frank, don't leave me. Frank smiles at him. Sorry, Nico, duty calls. Frank! Frank salutes him loosely before falling into step with Reyna. Billy looks at him nervously. It's okay, Nico reassures him. She's just mad at me, but she'll help you. You told me we go back, he says quietly, as if he didn't want Hazel to hear. We will, but you have to go with Reyna right now. I'll find you after I'm done being yelled at, okay? Billy nods and reluctantly steps away. Frank has stopped a few feet ahead, waiting, and him and Billy start talking quietly as they walk away. Nico watches him for as long as he reasonably can before turning back to Hazel. She doesn't look angry anymore. Jason said you were planning on running away again, from all of us. She looks heartbroken, and Nico takes back his previous thankfulness for Jason. He sighs. It's not as simple as that, Hazel. How's it not simple? I wouldn't just leave without seeing you. I would never do that to you. But you do it to everyone else? To Jason? To Reyna? To Percy and Annabeth and everyone else? To Will? I'm sure he'd be real torn up about it, he says before he can stop himself. Is that why you wanted to run away? Did something happen with you and Will? Coming out to Hazel was probably the scariest thing he had ever done. He hadn't honestly known how she would take it. On the one hand, he had felt sure that she would accept him, because she was his sister, and he was closer to her than with anyone else. But at the same time, Hazel had come from a different world, a different time. Jason had said he was being ridiculous. Hazel had said the same thing after. No, Hazel, look, it's a long story, and I'm tired, and I just saved a kid from a goddamn monster, okay? And I think I deserve a little bit of a rest for that. Can't we talk about this tomorrow? Jason said I was to order you back there immediately. Of course he did. I don't want to go back there. Yeah, we both assumed you'd say that, so you're to I am him instead. And that is an order from your praetor. Reyna can't order me around. This isn't my camp. Reyna can order anyone around, and you know it. He smiles sadly. I wouldn't have done anything without you coming to see, Hazel. You know that. Why would you have done it in the first place? He shoves his hands in his pockets. Hazel, I've already had this conversation with Jason, and I have to call him. And I told Billy I would. There's not enough time today. Please, can we talk about this tomorrow? Hazel purses her lips at him, but eventually she nods. He's immensely grateful. This day has been too much for him already, and it was barely 11 in the morning. Plus, he still had to deal with Reyna. He wasn't likely to be as forgiving as Hazel. I'm gonna go call Jason, he mumbles. He hopes Hazel won't follow him, and she doesn't. Camp Jupiter officially built a small building where iris messages could be placed to ensure quick communication between Camp Half-Blood, and that's where he heads now, although he has to force himself to put one foot in front of the other. Jason Grace, Camp Half-Blood, he says, half hoping maybe Iris is on vacation or something. But as has been established, the gods hated Nico. Jason's face appears, looking very, very irritated. Hi. Jason scowls. What the hell, Nico? He rubs the back of his neck. I was feeling a little overwhelmed. So you decided to ditch anyway? I was going to come back, honestly, but I ran into a kid that I had to save from a Cyclops, and I didn't want to head back there immediately, so I brought him to Camp Jupiter, and then I had to deal with... I'm sorry. One of the things he had learned after the war, life was easier when you apologise when you should. You're not allowed to run away when I won't remember any of this as tomorrow. I know, Jason, it's okay. I'm going to figure it out, and tomorrow I'm going to start actually trying to fix this. I'll talk to Annabeth and Piper. Just let me have this today. Being with Hazel will help. Jason looks like he's about to argue, but eventually he just sighs. Promise me you'll tell me again. I promise, Jason. I don't want to be in this situation either. Jason seems momentarily mollified. Bill isn't happy with you. Bill won't remember any of this tomorrow. We're going to figure this out, Nico. He nods, although he isn't sure how convinced he is of this. I'll see you tomorrow, he says with a wry smile. When he's finished, he heads back to Reyna and Billy. When he finds them, he sees that Reyna is staring at him with a rather glassy look, while Billy fires questions at her. Do I get to learn how to use a sword or a bow? Which one do you like better? When Nico closes the door behind him, he looks back and erupts into a grin when he sees him. Nico, do you know the Greek and Roman gods are real? You don't say, he says. He accepted it rather quickly, Reyna mutters, as Billy starts talking animatedly to Frank. He doesn't have any other choice, he says. Did he tell you about his sister? She nods. Probably dead, I assume. Nico watches Billy sadly. He won't believe you. I think he already knows. He looks at her. What makes you think that? Whenever he talks about her, he assures me that she's alive, but Aurum and Argentum, it's like they almost react. They get agitated. It's not quite a lie, but he isn't as convinced as he likes to pretend. She turns to look at him. So I hear you were about to run away? He sighs. That's not... I imagine everyone has already said everything there is to be said. He nods. I just want you to know, 2 years ago, I said we have 2 homes, and that includes you. You don't have to run away. You can just come here. Your family here too, Nico. We are your family. I'm your family. Nico shifts. Reyna is not looking at him anymore. He swallows audibly and nods again. I'm sorry. I know. She pats his hand lightly. I know. When are we going to go back to check? Billy asks later. Nico has offered to take him for a hot chocolate, and they were sitting outside now, watching the sunset. How about we go tomorrow, okay? He expects Billy to protest on the grounds that she might have returned today, but he doesn't, which makes Nico think that Reyna must have been right. I was thinking, we can leave a note telling her where I went. Do you think she might get a little concerned if you leave a note telling her that you're in a magic camp in California? Billy grins. Good point. So what if we left a note telling her when I'll be back? Like every 2 days at noon or something. And we can keep checking in, and if she finds it, she'll know when I'll be back. Nico nods and sips his own hot chocolate. That's a good idea. We can do that. They sit in silence. Billy is swinging his legs, and every so often they hit the table and shake it. But Nico doesn't bother to ask him to stop. Thank you for saving me, Billy finally says again, speaking quietly. I wasn't going to let that Cyclops kill you, kid. Can I tell you something? Sure. You won't think I'm crazy? We're sitting in a city guarded by a statue ruled over by people descended from Greek and Roman gods, and you think I'm going to think you're crazy? He smiles nervously. I've been having this bad dream, and I meet that monster like I did today, but nothing happens. You don't come, and he kills me, and I know it's just a dream, but it hurts. It hurts a lot, and it's scary, and I'm afraid, and I think I'm going to dream of that again tonight. Nico is staring at him, trying to keep the horror off his face. He puts his chocolate down and swallows. That dream won't ever happen again, Billy, he says quietly. I promise. I half expected this, because I was like, why introduce a random kid that Nico's just gonna have to go and save every single time, and then to have to deal with that? But this is interesting. So, okay, sorry, my hair got caught. But Billy this'll be fun. This'll be interesting. I'm glad though. Otherwise, Billy would probably just gotten on my nerves. Like an overexcited child every single time. Like, what the hell is this? Yada yada. Anyway, that's fun. Thanks for listening. I want to do a one shot, but like I'm tired. I kind of don't want to do a one shot right now. But also, if I find a really interesting one, I probably will do it. Anyway, bye bye.